I am making a three-part video series on paragraph writing. In video 1, I will cover different kinds of introduction paragraphs. In video 2, I'm going to cover different kinds of body paragraphs, and in video 3, I will cover different kinds of conclusion paragraphs. So here is video 1 on different kinds of introduction paragraphs. So different kinds of introduction paragraphs. So the introduction paragraph is the very first paragraph of your essay. And there are three kinds of introduction paragraphs. There's the funnel introduction paragraph. That's the paragraph you're writing right now, where you write your hook, your bridge, and then you write your thesis statement as the last sentence of the first paragraph. Now you're going to learn two more kinds of introduction paragraphs. There's the turnabout introduction paragraph, where you state the opposite point of view, then you state your thesis statement. And then you'll learn about the anecdote introduction paragraph, where you tell a story and then you write your thesis statement. So in an introduction paragraph, in a funnel introduction paragraph, there are three parts. There's a hook. That's the first sentence that grabs the reader's attention. Bridge, 5 sentences that give context to the thesis. Thesis, 1 sentence thesis that summarizes the content of your body paragraphs as the last sentence. Your thesis formula is topic, opinion, reason. Here's an example of a funnel introduction paragraph. Ever been to New York? It is a hustling and bustling city. New Yorkers are awake 24/7, 365 days a year. A person can eat at many ethnic restaurants in New York City, from Chinese food to French food. I can have a French breakfast, a hot dog all-American lunch, and then a Chinese dinner, all in one day in one city. In New York City, a tourist can visit so many monuments, like the Empire State Building, and attend shows on Broadway. New York has all 4 seasons, unlike California, which just has 2 seasons. And here I have my thesis statement. I love New York because of its diverse restaurants and cultures, beautiful buildings, and of course, my family and memories of New York as my hometown. And so in a funnel introduction paragraph, ever been to New York? It is a hustling, bustling city. That is my hook. Then I describe New York, and then I write my thesis statement. So this is an example of a funnel introduction paragraph, because you start with a very general statement, and then you end with a very specific statement, your thesis. That looks like an upside down triangle, and that's why it's called a funnel introduction paragraph. Second kind of paragraph is a turnabout introduction paragraph. In a turnabout introduction paragraph, you have the hook, then you state the opposite point of view of your opinion as your bridge, and then you state your thesis and your opinion. And remember that the thesis formula is topic, opinion, and reasons. Here's an example of a turnabout introduction paragraph. Many people think teachers should have guns in the classroom to prevent school shootings. Having teachers who are trained to use guns against shooters, many people think, would protect students against shooters in the schools. People believe that if teachers are adequately trained to use guns and use them properly, this will deter school shootings, because teachers, it is believed, with training, could actually protect the students from the shooter. But here's my thesis. Actually, so here I stated the other side. So the other side thinks that teachers should have guns in the classroom. But in my thesis, I think the opposite. So actually, having guns in the classroom is dangerous, because students in the classroom may accidentally set off the gun. Most teachers do not want to learn to use a gun, and training services And trained police should be the only ones who should have guns to capture the shooter, not teachers. And so putting aside that this is a very controversial topic, and putting aside how you feel about the topic, focus just on the style. So if you focus on the style and put aside your, what you think about this topic, and study how this paragraph is written, then you can emulate this same style where you write the opposite point of view of what you think in your introduction. Then in your thesis, you write what you think. I could have easily written the other way around as well for this exercise. But basically, I just want you to focus on the style of the introduction paragraph and not so much the topic, because you can take any topic and apply this style. So if I wanted to say that gun control is necessary, and then I could say the other side, that many people think gun control is not necessary, because in some parts of the country, parents teach their children properly how to hunt and how to properly lock their guns. Therefore, gun control in this country is unnecessary. This is my thesis statement, because, or whatever. In other words, you just turn it around. However, gun control is necessary because in urban settings, people set off guns and stuff and people set off guns, and people are shot with, too many people are murdered with guns. Therefore, there should be less guns on the street, and therefore gun control would be the way to eliminate guns on the streets. So here I start with the opposite point of view and then go into my point of view. So that's what a turnabout introduction paragraph is. You write the other side, and then you write your thesis statement acts as a rebuttal to the other side. This makes your essay look balanced and objective. The last kind of introduction paragraph is an anecdote introduction paragraph. You tell a 5-sentence story that introduces your topic. So you can talk about by using a case study or a personal narrative. So for example, in your essay, I became a nurse because I want to interact with, I want to heal people, I want a steady job, and I want to be a role model for my students. So in your 5-sentence story, you could tell a story about how you discovered nursing. When I was 5 years old, I followed my mother, who also is a nurse, around in the hospital. And I saw my mother so devoted and dedicated to her patients, and I saw how grateful the patients were when my mother treated them. So therefore, I want to become a nurse because. So that's an anecdote introduction paragraph. So you can use, and also you can use a case study. You could use one of your patients. And let's say I took a job at a hospital, and I loved treating there was patient Mrs. Smith, and she was really old, and I was helping out at an old geriatric home for old people. And Mrs. Smith was very lonely and had nobody to talk to. And Mrs. Smith was confused because she could no longer remember where she was. I was hired to help her with her daily tasks, and I grew really close to her. I got to know her, and I got to know her like family. When Mrs. Smith passed away, I was sad, but I knew that my calling would be to work in the medical field helping geriatric older patients. Therefore, I want to become a geriatric nurse because reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. So that's an example of an anecdotal paragraph. So here's another example of an anecdote introduction paragraph. Is teaching the right profession for young people? Teaching is an exciting job. My student, Jenny came from, this is based on something that happened to me. So I start out with a hook, then in my bridge, I tell my story, and then I write my thesis statement. And so teaching is an exciting job. My student, Jenny, came from China. She was 14 years old. She spoke no English and could not interact with the other American students during recess. As a result, she spent all her time with me since I was the only teacher who could speak Chinese. In other words, she spent all her recess time with me since she didn't know enough English to interact with the other Americans, so she felt very lonely. However, the first time she read an English book with no translation, her eyes lit up with joy. At that moment, when I saw that look of joy in her face, at learning a new skill of reading in English, I knew teaching was for me. Teaching is a great profession because now I get into my thesis statement. So here I introduced why I became a teacher with a case study. So teaching is a great profession because I get to interact with students, learn their different backgrounds, and teach them a new skill like writing they can use for the rest of their lives. So that is an example of an